And to use a favorite term that all of you people really came up with, we will stop the steal.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're taking a closer look at 10 conspiracy theories that actually affected the real world.
He doesn't mention Nancy or Paul Pelosi by name, but shares a conspiracy that he believes a number of individuals are part of that's hurting democracy.
For this list, we're looking at high-profile cases in which conspiracy theories have had real consequences. There have been real conspiracies in history, such as Watergate and Big Tobacco's Operation Berkshire. Conspiracy theories, however, postulate conspiracies to explain events, often in ways that ignore probable explanations, cherry-pick evidence, and can't be falsified. Have you watched close friends or family members get lost down the misinformation rabbit hole? Share your experiences with us in the comments. Satanic Panic.
Studies have linked violent behavior to the game, saying it promotes satanic worship, ritual sacrifice.
Moral panics over ritual abuse aren't new. Romans accused early Christians of murdering children. Christians did the same to Jews in medieval times. And it was also a feature of witch hunts.
What makes you think she's a witch? Well, she turned me into a newt. A newt. I got better.
Such a panic swept through the U.S. in the 1980s, as conservative religious reactionaries accused heavy metal musicians and Dungeons & Dragons players of promoting Satanism. False accusations of ritual abuse, bolstered by the now discredited practice of recovered memory therapy, led to 12,000 unsubstantiated cases. Dozens of daycare workers were brought to trial. The most infamous case, against the McMartin family, lasted 7 years before charges were dropped. The conspiracy theory endures today in new forms, such as Illuminati theories and the QAnon movement, which targets actors, Democrats, and the so-called deep state.
Now, because of the internet, ferreting out Satan is now sort of a participatory misinformation quest.
5G misinformation. Anxiety around new technology is normal, and caution about our health is healthy. But 5G conspiracy theories have spun wildly out of control.
Your body can't handle this new 5G. It's not built for it. And yet lots more people are going to be ill.
Wireless communication relies on electromagnetic radiation, specifically the range of frequencies called radio waves. Radio frequency radiation is non-ionizing. It doesn't have enough energy to knock electrons from atoms and damage our cells. It can convert into heat and thus be harmful at very high levels of exposure, which our devices and networks are well below.
Right now, the FCC requires that every phone on the market be tested and given a value corresponding to the amount of radiation it emits. It says that value is well below the point at which adverse health effects could occur.
5G, the fifth generation of wireless technology, operates at a higher frequency than 4G, but still relatively low on the spectrum. Nonetheless, conspiracy theories have blamed it for cancer, the spread of COVID-19, and even the deaths of bees. This has erupted in protests and sabotage, especially in the UK, where 5G towers have been set on fire.
Now they even claim that it's linked to the coronavirus pandemic, and impassioned disciples are burning down mobile phone masts around the world and spreading misinformation, encouraging people to ignore safety measures, and interfering with vital communication services.
Sandy Hook. Alt-right radio host Alex Jones has promoted a host of deranged conspiracy theories on his fake news show and website, Infowars.
At that point, and I do think there's some cover-up and some manipulation, that is pretty much what I believe. But then I was also going into devil's advocate, but then we know there's mass shootings and these things happen. So again...
But you're trying to have it always, right?
No, I'm not.
If you wrongly went out there and said it was a hoax, that's wrong.
His most infamous claim is that the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting was staged, and that the gunman's 26 victims were only actors. As parents grieved their children, Jones spread falsehoods online, claiming that it was all a ploy to take guns away, sending his revenue and viewership soaring. This fueled years of harassment, including death threats towards the families of victims.
I am a mother, first and foremost, and I know that you're a father. And my son existed.
Enraged conspiracy theorists told bereaved parents that their children never existed. The families sued Jones, and in 2022 were awarded $1.487 billion in damages. Jones has blamed globalists who he says are out to get him.
It seems absurd to instruct you again that you must tell the truth while you testify, yet here I am. You must tell the truth while you testify. This is not your show.
Pizzagate. Amid a perfect storm of fake news and political polarization, this alt-right conspiracy theory went viral in the run-up to the 2016 United States presidential election. In November of that year, the personal emails of Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, John Podesta, were leaked online.
The Clinton campaign not responding to individual documents, instead accusing the Russians of orchestrating the hack to help Donald Trump win.
Proponents of the conspiracy theory claim to have uncovered dirt on Democrats in the form of coded messages implicating liberals and a Washington, D.C. pizzeria in a human trafficking ring.
On November 7th, the hashtag Pizzagate was born, and by November 16th, people started showing up at the restaurant to investigate for themselves.
In a sense, it was a resurgence of the Satanic Panic, complete with accusations of ritual abuse. The restaurant owner, James Elephantis, and his staff received death threats. And on December 4th, a North Carolina man fired 3 rounds inside, having decided to, quote, self-investigate. Pizzagate would become a forerunner to QAnon.
QAnon has an evangelical aspect, where followers encourage each other to convert friends and family. They call it red pilling, a reference from the Matrix films.
Helter Skelter. In the Summer of Love in San Francisco, 1967, singer-songwriter Charles Manson preached a message of hope and salvation.
Charlie saw a good thing when he realized that if somebody ran around and talked like a guru, in that day and age, especially up in San Francisco, you could gather a group of followers in no time.
But he was not who he seemed. A master manipulator with a criminal record that included theft, forgery, and sex trafficking, Manson preyed on impressionable young women in the counterculture of the 60s to build a doomsday cult known as the Manson family. He was a white supremacist who believed that black Americans would initiate an apocalyptic race war and choose Manson as their master.
He said the black man was going to win this war, but he said Blackie only knows what Whitey's told him to do. And they're not going to be able to handle the reins of power, so they're going to have to turn over the reins to those white people who had survived Helter Skelter, i.e. Charles Manson and his family.
According to his conspiracy theory, it was all foretold in the Beatles song Helter Skelter. The ideology may have been a motive in the family's murders of 6 people in August 1969, including actress Sharon Tate.
Over 2 nights in August 1969, actress Sharon Tate and 6 others had been slain in one of the century's most infamous crimes.
The anti-vax movement. Ultimately, you are the person most invested in your health, and doing real research with reliable sources is important. However, that is not the basis of the anti-vax movement. In 1998, British physician Andrew Wakefield published a paper alleging a link between the MMR vaccine and autism.
I could no longer support the MMR vaccine. I would continue to vigorously support the use of single vaccines, spaced out, but the safety studies of MMR vaccine were not there. They were not adequate.
Investigations revealed he'd falsified data and had been paid over £400,000 by lawyers who wanted to sue vaccine manufacturers. Reportedly, he expected to make $43 million a year selling diagnostic kits. Wakefield's paper was retracted and his medical license revoked.
I think what we now know is that the Lancet paper, which was always felt to be bad science, is a deliberate fraud that was perpetrated in order to try to show a link between the vaccine and autism.
Nonetheless, his work kicked off the modern anti-vax movement. Reductions in vaccinations have led to outbreaks around the world. In 2019, reported cases of measles were the highest in 23 years.
Once declared eradicated in the United States, measles outbreaks are rattling regions of the country again this year. There have been more than 200 confirmed cases in just the past few months.
Trump's big lie.
We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated.
Former President Donald Trump has peddled a long list of conspiracy theories, such as the birther movement around Barack Obama's citizenship. After he lost his bid for a second term in 2020, he claimed the election had been rigged and led a campaign to overturn the results and reinstall himself as president.
So he had said something to the effect of,
I don't want people to know we lost Mark. This is embarrassing. Figure it out. We need to figure it out.
However, his pressure on state and federal officials failed. Courts threw out 63 lawsuits which failed to substantiate their conspiratorial claims, and recounts, some by machine and some by hand, confirmed Biden's win. Nonetheless, Trump's falsehoods about a stolen election inspired the January 6th United States Capitol attack in 2021, as Trump supporters, among them neo-fascists and far-right militias, assaulted police and stormed the building.
For some, it was just a rally for their president. For others, it was a call to arms.
We have the power in numbers. March on Congress directly after Trump's speech.
The attack left 5 dead, and 4 distraught officers later took their own lives. Eurabia. In his manifesto, far-right extremist Anders Breivik cited British writer Batya Orr's concept of Eurabia, a conspiracy theory that political elites are plotting to Islamize Europe.
So this is a kind of a surrender of Europe.
Yes, it is. Yes, certainly.
On July 22, 2011, 90 minutes after disseminating his manifesto online, Breivik exploded a car bomb in Oslo, Norway, killing 8 people. He moved on to a summer camp on the island of Utøya, organized by the youth wing of the Norwegian Labour Party, shooting and killing a further 67.
We all had this sensation that an act of war was really taking place.
Breivik saw himself as a knight opposing Muslim immigration into Europe. In 2019, Australian terrorist Brenton Tarrant would cite Breivik as inspiration for his attacks on 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand, which left 51 people dead.
Brenton Tarrant opened fire at 2 mosques in Christchurch, killing 51 people.
He's just an animal. This guy's an animal.
Tarrant's own manifesto cited the Great Replacement Theory, a similar far-right conspiracy theory about Muslim immigration. HIV/AIDS denialism. Conspiracy theories about HIV/AIDS have circulated since it was recognized as a global epidemic in the 1980s. A Soviet disinformation campaign, Operation Infection, sought to propagate belief it was made in the USA.
This is when a remarkable story appears in a newspaper called The Patriot. It claims the HIV virus was secretly created by US government scientists as a weapon to kill African Americans and gay people.
The idea became particularly prevalent in African American communities, linked to the CIA and genocide, perhaps an echo of the real-life Tuskegee syphilis study. The most pernicious conspiracy theory, however, has been HIV/AIDS denialism, the belief that HIV does not cause AIDS.
The concern isn't what the denialists are saying. Crazy people say things all the time. It's who's listening to them. That's the harm that's being caused.
Proponents accuse the medical community of lying to sell antiretroviral drugs. Under South African President Thabo Mbeki in the 2000s, HIV/AIDS denialism had disastrous consequences, leading to hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths. Here's the thing, antiretroviral drugs work. An estimated 40 million people have died from AIDS-related illness, but death rates have dramatically declined, due not only to lower infection rates, but also expanded access to antiretroviral therapy.
There is a new treatment called Apretude, which can be given as an injection.
The injection of Apretude, like other PrEP medicine, is given to prevent a person from becoming infected with HIV, the virus that can cause AIDS.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Jewish War Conspiracy Theory. This anti-Semitic conspiracy theory rationalized unspeakable violence. In 1903, a fabricated text published in Russia, The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, described a Jewish plot for global domination.
Despite the fact that the vast majority of European Jews lived in abject poverty, the existence of a few wealthy Jewish families was spun into conspiracy theories of an insular and self-interested Hebrew cabal out to control the world.
It was exposed as a hoax, but Adolf Hitler seized on the idea, using Jews as a convenient scapegoat for Germany's post-World War I hardships. As Nazi Germany prepared for war and unleashed pogroms against Jewish communities, World Zionist Organization President Chaim Weizmann pledged Jewish support for Great Britain and democracies.
When he had the opportunity to meet Arthur Balfour, Prime Minister of Britain, in 1905, Weizmann converted Balfour to the Zionist cause with a moving petition for the Jews' connection to their ancestral homeland.
Nazi propaganda twisted this into a declaration of war in order to portray the Holocaust, which took 6 million Jewish lives, as self-defense. The theory remains popular among neo-Nazis, and anti-Semitism continues to underlie some conspiracy theories about secretive cabals and New World orders today.
To some extent, the anti-Semitism pulls on the same old tropes, right? The Jews are somehow manipulating societies to harm white people.